Let's make sure everything looks and sounds good, and then we'll get going. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Home. Okay. Okay, I think we're okay. I think everything is okay. So just going to share this on YouTube, and then we'll get going. Okay. I'll share this on Twitter right now, and then we will get the show started. Okay, I think that's it. Okie dokie. Alrighty. Well, here we are. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Welcome to a special edition. This is a special edition of UnShrink Me, my weekly podcast on mental health and related topics. So welcome, everyone. I know it's a holiday, so some of you probably won't be joining me in the chat. That's A-okay. Welcome to a special edition, a more satirical, I think, edition of UnShrink Me. And so I hope that anyone who gets a chance to watch and listen, perhaps even join in the chat, understands that the vibe today is a little different compared to other days. Normally, I talk about mental health topics with a lot of seriousness and things like that, but today I think we're going to relax, let our hair down, so to speak, and have a little more fun. And so I hope that everyone watching and listening today understands that the spirit of today's podcast, UnShrink Me, is a little more loose and a little less serious per se. So welcome everyone. UnShrink Me is a weekly podcast on my YouTube channel, The Psychology Checkup. If you are brand new, please like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate everyone who comes and joins. Normally this is much later in the day, but because of 4th of July plans, I need to do it a little bit earlier. So we will move forward and see how things go, see who joins, etc. So today's agenda is pretty simple. We're going to talk about freedom and mental health, because freedom and mental health, I think, go hand in hand. And I think it's very important to have a crystal clear understanding of freedom and understand how important it is. And this is just one person's take. For the purpose of this podcast, I am not Dr. Patrick Lockwood. I am just Patrick. So please do not sue me. Feel free, as always, to cancel me if you like. And as always, this podcast is not N-O-T, and I mean not, sponsored by Celsius. However, I do love this stuff. It does make my day better, gives me a little energy, a little kick. I love it. So, without further delay, we are going to start freedom maxing in today's podcast. So I want to start off first with a quote. And this came from some thing I saw on Twitter, so I'm just going to retweet it real quick. By the way, if you're new to this and you do not follow me online, my handle is at AlobhaPatrick. So on Twitter, I am AlobhaPatrick. That's ALOBHAPATRICK. So come find me, shout at me, etc. Okay. So about 2 days ago, some probably spam, I would be willing to guess, bot-based, Russian disinformation, who knows what, account called Based Americana posted this quote from, I believe, George Washington in one of his letters during the Battle of Ticonderoga. So here's the quote from George Washington. So we're going to start a little serious and we're going to get loose as the podcast goes by, I think. So here's what the post said 2 days ago. Here's the quote, if it's accurate. It said, "We should never despair. Our situation before has been uncompromising and our situation before has been unpromising, and has changed for the better. So I trust that it will again." So again, the quote is very simple. We should never despair. Our situation before has been unpromising and has changed for the better, so I trust it will again. Now, obviously, a lot of people have lots of feelings and thoughts about the so-called founding fathers of America for various reasons. All of them are completely uninteresting to me. I don't care about anything that you all are upset about, so leave me alone. And what I will tell everyone is that these people who we call the founding fathers had a very tough job, I think. I think it's fair to say that at the time when these colonists were trying to figure out what to do and how to handle this developing ethos in their country, they were left with very tough choices at the time. And one of the tough choices was, do we forge ahead and try to become our own thing and develop independence and autonomy? Or do we just relent? Do we give up? Do we fail? Do we just give in to this dictator, like tyrannical tyrant kind of idiot over in Great Britain? What do we do? And I think, genuinely speaking, they made the right choice, as evidenced by the fact that this country has turned out really, really well. It is my very, very biased, extremely biased opinion that the United States of America, which I get to live in, has turned out very well 250 years later. So I'm very grateful to be here. And I think if you are here and you are not grateful to be here, something is probably wrong in your life, something drastic. Now, some people are born into poverty and despair, and that's completely understandable. However, if you are a middle-class person, or even if you are a lower-class person, you still live, by most standards, a rather comfortable life, a rather convenient life. You know, here in Los Angeles, people that are lower SES get all sorts of access to food resources, different access to potential industries. It's absurd how much access people have to opportunity here in this country. I think that is one of the big reasons why many people move here and immigrate here and move here illegally and so on and so forth, is because look at all of the opportunity we have. And how absurd is it that we have this much opportunity and freedom? Because here in the United States of America, although there are many problems of which I'm very aware and I talk about all the time on Twitter, maybe not all the time, I talk about semi-frequently on Twitter, those problems are worth it. You know, like, let's talk about the fact that this country, generally speaking, is actually one of the better countries when it comes to human rights. That's amazing. You know, as an LGBT person myself, I could certainly be in a bunch of other countries where things are far worse, so-called Western countries or civilized countries or industrialized countries, and I could be treated far, far worse. And so I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful that I get to live in this place where I'm not treated all that badly for being a little gay, you know? Just a little, just a soupçon of gay, if that makes sense. And so, generally speaking, we should never despair, as George Washington said, because the opportunities seem to get better with time. Yes, it's true that here in the United States, we have some weird oligarchy of a bunch of tech billionaires and banking billionaires and trillionaires and all these people who are basically running the show while the puppet government does nothing but be useless and cause division in this country. That's stupid. We're pretty stupid for caring about those people, I think. But that being said, we still have a McDonald's on every corner. We have this ability to get coffee wherever we want. I have the ability here in this country to go get a $9 matcha if I want to waste my money. God damn it, that's amazing. That's freedom for you right there. But also, we should never despair because, honestly, it doesn't make anyone's life better. I've never seen despair make anyone's life better. I've never met a patient or a family who was despairing and it made them better. Despair is a normal reaction. Despair happens when we're miserable and we see no hope for the future. And If you live in the United States of America, there's almost always hope for the future. It's absurd how much hope we can have. We are, trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, but there's still hope. People can't buy houses, but there's still hope. People spend $60,000 on a truck they don't need, but we still have hope that our lives will get better. It's amazing how we have the ability to do all sorts of absurd things. Do you want to take out a second and a third mortgage on your house to start your third business that will fail? God bless you. Let's fucking go. And this is America. Do you believe that your brand of sourdough is going to take off? Even though everyone was making sourdough during the pandemic and no one gives a shit anymore? Well, in America, you're allowed to give it a try and fail. In fact, one of the best parts of America, in my opinion, is our unrelenting desire to try and fail and then win when we can. We won World War II with some help. Maybe by slaughtering some Japanese. Maybe that's bad. Maybe, just maybe, not the best win we've had. You know, are we the leading producer of electronic cars in this country? Absolutely. Maybe it comes at the cost of some slave mining in Africa, but you know what? Everyone gets to have their fancy electric car and spend $40,000 to replace their batteries, but that slave labor is absolutely worth it. Do we all get iPhones of some kind? Also made with slave labor somewhere in China? Absolutely. And, that's freedom. Freedom is the ability to take advantage of the circumstances your country has created for you and make your life better because of it and then be ungrateful. That's freedom. And the reason that matters is it's really important, in my opinion at least, to realize that freedom comes with a cost. Also, as it relates to your mind, freedom comes with a cost as well. The idea that you will feel emotionally free from your mental health problem, or free from an abusive relationship or whatever, without some cost is absurd. There are a great many people that wish, hey Phil, glad to see you here. There are a great many people that wish for freedom but don't want to put in the work to be free and also don't want the consequences of freedom. So although I was just being sarcastic and silly about all the, ungrateful nonsense in this country and all the ways in which we take advantage of the rest of the world to have this freedom, it's really hard when you're mentally unwell to gain freedom when you're trapped in circumstances and relationships that make you sick. My buddy Nick Tabor all the time on Twitter, NICKTABER, his handle, he talks about how kids are trapped in schools. And these schools are terrible, admittedly. They prompt you to just be mindless factory zombie compliant kids. So there's not much freedom there, but the opposite of that might not look so good. It might not look so good. It might be very consequential to get freedom from that system. It might cost you, some of your sanity to get free from oppressive systems. And that's what happens in this country time and time again. Excuse me. When a group of people wants freedom, it requires cost. And many people are unwilling to take on the cost. And that is part of the problem, in my opinion, is a lot of people are suffering and are miserable because the costs, I don't believe, genuinely speaking, that they want the costs. And fair enough, it requires a great deal of effort to create any kind of freedom in your life. Emotional freedom, psychological freedom, financial freedom. To be financially free is very difficult because you can go work for someone and make six figures, but that means that you have to do whatever they say and whatever they want, basically. There's little room to negotiate. But if you start your own business, on the other hand, You are under the oppressive experience of the market and trying to find customers and keep your business alive. So freedom comes with all sorts of costs. And for people who want mental health, who want freedom from their emotions, there's also the cost of giving up the security of what you see in your mind. Because a lot of people like the certainty of their misery. A lot of people like the certainty of their delusions about themselves, right? A lot of people believe that thinking is what will set them free, when in reality it doesn't. Practicing non-attachment, non-judgment might help you feel more free, but that comes with the cost of letting go of the control of what's happening in your mind. And that's arrogance and ego, that I can think my way out of things to feel better, which is almost never the case. So freedom does not come free. Freedom costs things. And I'm grateful for all the people that have paid various costs for me to get here, my family included. Many people have sacrificed a great deal for the freedom that I have. I know my grandfather fought in World War II, and he sacrificed a lot. And he busted his ass when he got back to America and did his best to build a life for my dad and his siblings and things like that. And my mom's family also busted their ass to make their way out of like a poor working class family into a middle class family. And so a lot of people sacrifice so much to have the freedom that they have. And it's very easy to take it for granted. And when we are ungrateful for the freedoms that we have, we are miserable. In fact, if you look at a lot of the misery online, a lot of people who are miserable on Instagram and Twitter and things like that are miserable because they lack complete gratitude and have no perspective for how they got here. You know, if you want to go be one of the cobalt miners that makes the batteries for your phones, your laptops, and your cars, feel free. See what it's like. You know, make $3 a day or whatever that is they make. I think a lot of people don't understand how good their circumstances are. I have it so good. I have it insanely good. I have it so good that my complaints are ridiculous in life. My complaints are I watch stupid fucking movies and think they're poorly done and boring. That's the extent of the misery of my life, for real. And so that means I have it astoundingly good. And most people don't understand how good they have it even when they're struggling. I see this all the time in drug rehabs out here too. People genuinely don't understand how good they have it and how miserable they are and how miserable they're making themselves. And the thing is, freedom is daunting and terrifying because it means doing things and sacrificing things that maybe we don't want to sacrifice. So I encourage everyone to have more fun and enjoy today. If you are here in America and you're lucky enough to be here and you're lucky enough to celebrate and not have to work and, kill yourself to make a living today, you should be so grateful. And if you do things like I do, like enjoy other people's labor, like go to coffee shops and things like that, maybe you should do nice things for them, like tip them and things like that, perhaps, if you have the means. There's so many things we can do to show gratitude for people, and we do not do it. And so I think this idea of celebrating freedom should be about gratitude, in my opinion. And gratitude is especially missing in the mental health industry. If you look at most treatment centers and rehabs, if you look at most therapists are miserable people. They have no relationship to the concept of gratitude. They're hyper-focused on problems. And fair enough, when you spend your life helping people, so to speak, you become very problem-focused, and that's terrible for your mental health. And of course, we all have problems that we should be solving, but it's absurd to imagine that you're going to solve them by being miserable and lacking in gratitude. So I think for everyone who's watching and listening, I hope that today you can find some semblance of gratitude in your life. I hope that the freedom you have is not taken for granted, because one thing that's become apparent to me as I get older and older is how good I have it. And I certainly have busted my ass in many ways to get here. But it's definitely not the case that despairing has made my life better. And some people with different mental health problems are stuck in despair. And being stuck in despair will make everyone miserable. You know, people with major depressive disorder are often stuck in despair. People with PTSD, often stuck in despair. People with various personality disorders, stuck in despair. They don't have the ability to climb their way out of it because they're lacking in encouraging relationships. Or their illness keeps them from seeing reality as it is, which is why it's called a mental illness in the first place. So in full sincerity, not being sarcastic in this moment, I genuinely believe that for many people with mental health problems, figuring out how to look at the data accurately and see where gratitude is owed and helpful is important. And that will result in more freedom. It is 100% clear in my life that the more gratitude I have for the people, places, and things, for the comforts and opportunities and successes of my life, the more freedom we get to have. The more freedom I get to have. I do not feel more free. I do not live more freely and act more freely when I'm more despairing ever in my life. And so George Washington was correct. We should never despair. Our situation before has been unpromising and has changed for the better. So I trust that it will again. And for everyone out there who is suffering, who is miserable, who has a chance to hear this, just know that you are not alone. And there are people who have it just as bad as you or worse than you who are figuring it out, and you can figure it out too. And I think dear Phil, who's here in the chat, hoorah for that. Because one of the best parts of America, like fuck yeah, America, is it's a nation of people who fucking figure it out. And that is awesome. One of the best things about this country is the people that live here and succeed here, of all economic backgrounds, of all cultures, ages, and genders and religions, is they figure it out. Everyone figures it out. It's a group of people who can figure it out. That is the ethos of America. It's like, well, we're going to fucking figure it out. We're going to leave the UK and come over here and we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. That, to me, is the spirit of freedom. We're going to figure it out because we can figure it out. Because we are not helpless. Because we will not put up with this bullshit here in England and we will leave. Right? Now, is that me whitewashing the story? Yeah, shut the fuck up. I don't care. The truth of the matter is that spirit is the spirit of mental health. Yeah, Phil gets it. The spirit of mental health is we will figure it out. Mental health is not, I feel good all the time. Mental health is not, I'm amazing. Mental health, simplify. Mental health is not, it'll be okay. Mental health is, I will figure it out. And one thing that is uniquely American, I think, is the we will figure it out spirit that we have. That is the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship. That's the spirit of our military. You know, Phil's, I guess, a Marine Corps guy, simplify, he says. So that's the spirit of our military. We will figure it out. And that's not every country. That's not every culture. You know, other countries are like that. China's definitely like that. Definitely a we will figure it out country together. But the United States is this weird hodgepodge of I will figure it out or we will figure it out depending upon where you live and where you come from. So in small communities like where I grew up, it's more of a we will figure it out. Out here in LA, where I currently live, unfortunately, but fortunately, it's I will figure it out because we can. And that is the spirit of mental health, is I will figure it out. And if you're lucky enough, we will figure it out. And so if you're out there and you're despairing, it might just be the case where you need some we will figure it out time. together. And sometimes it's with a professional. Sometimes it's with a therapist. Sometimes it's with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers. But we will figure it out as the spirit of America, and it is the spirit of mental health. Now, the problem is that mental health in this country has taken a serious nosedive in the last 15 years because everyone and their brother is complaining. Fucking politicians, culture warriors, podcasters, etc. Everyone, the news, everyone is like, it's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad, and screw you all. Screw you all for talking about how bad it is when it's actually so good. Because it is so good. This is the land of fucking opportunity. And we have every opportunity on the planet to figure things out. We live in one of the richest countries with also one of the biggest debts, which means we'll figure it out, as we always have, because we always do, because that's the spirit of this country. I'll show you. If I were to say, what are the two attitudes of America? It's I'll show you and we'll figure it out. That's exactly what the founding fathers did. The Tea Party is I'll show you. And then the Revolutionary War is we'll figure it out. And that's what they did. They figured it out. And I'm grateful we live in a country that says, how dare you? I'll show you and we'll figure it out. Because that ethos is far better than countries where it's like, oh, I'm sorry. That doesn't breed innovation or resilience. So as corrupt as this country is, and it's extremely corrupt, for as stupid as our leaders are, and they're really stupid, for as unhealthy as our culture is in terms of, hating each other for politics, hating each other for wokeness or Trump or whatever, because we're really stupid for caring about those things. So as stupid as we are, as corrupt as we are, as spoiled as we are, I'm still grateful that we live in a country that says you can come here and hang out and we can figure it out together. And I'll show you, because that means we can figure it out, because that means we will be okay, because that means we will maybe not be okay right now or even in a year or 5 years, but we will in 10 years. I remember when I started grad school, how I was like, oh God, I'm taking on all these student loans and, what's the job market going to be and all this crap. And it's just going to be this daunting, insane process. And here I am and my life is okay. I'm figuring it out. I'm not rich. Maybe not yet. Maybe I'll get canceled and get rich. I don't know. But I'm not rich, but I'm figuring it out. And my life is better because I'm figuring it out. Right? So I will figure it out is the attitude that keeps me, relatively speaking, sane. And I think that's true for a lot of people. It's not the attitude of, I deserve to be happy. That's bullshit. It's not the attitude of, I deserve to feel safe. That's also bullshit, by the way. And for those of you out there who disagree, feel free to show me your best, reasons for that. Safety is not a goal. Safety is something you figure out. It's not something we deserve, right? There's no species on the planet that's safe. All of us have to figure it out. And for those of us that don't have to figure it out because we live in relatively safe areas, like I do, we should be really fucking grateful. Yeah, Phil says we can be together. Absolutely, of course we can. We can always figure it out. And that is the attitude that's been missing for the last 15 years, especially because of the news and the economic uncertainty in this country and the culture war nonsense. It's just, there's no more we can figure it out attitude. And if you wanted a simple solution, a simple attitude to foster inside of yourself, it's that. Because the truth is, 9.9 times out of 10, you are capable. 9.9 times out of 10, we are all capable. It's amazing how even people who are severely oppressed and severely limited can figure it out. I have worked with some of the sickest people on the planet in my career, and they have figured it out. I've worked with people with such bad trauma and neglect that you would imagine that they probably would have killed themselves because of how miserable their internal world was, that they didn't, and they figured it out. And it's because of their resilience and their hope and their belief in the capacity to change with the support of other people, that they're not doing it alone. And no one has to do it alone. The beautiful thing about the United States of America is there's a tribe for you somewhere. If you want to be an insane conservative, there's so many MAGA, whatever kinds of people. If you want to be a wild conspiracy theorist, there's a group for you. If you want to be a crazy lefty, there's a group for you. If you want to be a radical communist, there's a group for you. If you want to be a antisocial atheist, there's a group for you. There's a group for every kind of person that can exist in this country. You want to be super Christian, there's a group for you. Super Mormon, there's a group for you. There's groups for everybody. That is one of the most beautiful things about this country is we're this weird melting pot of all sorts of beliefs and ideas that needs to be grounded in the spirit of we can figure it out and I'll show you. Because I'll show you is actually very adaptive if it's harnessed correctly. But when a lot of people are struggling with depression, the spirit of I'll show you is like blunted by hopelessness and despair. So I'm not trying to say that people with mental illnesses should just pull themselves up by their bootstraps and just start practicing the attitude of I'll figure it out. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying specifically is that if you can find a way to figure it out, that's your best bet. If you can find a person to help motivate you to figure it out, that's your best bet. Because we will figure it out is the spirit of America, in my opinion. Also, the problem we have is that we listen to people we shouldn't fucking listen to, which is absurd. We listen to news anchors, podcasters like myself. We listen to people on Twitter and Instagram, gurus, you know. We put all of our eggs in these baskets that make no sense to me. And so because of that, I'd actually like to introduce a brand new segment called What Mental Health Means to Me and What Freedom and Mental Health Means to Me in America. And for everyone who doesn't understand, this is going to be satire and sarcasm. So, freedom in America to me means freedom to blame your shitty behavior on your mental illness and never think twice about it. Freedom in America to me means freedom to not know you have a mental health problem and make yourself and everyone else miserable. Freedom in America means taking psychiatric medications and not being the least bit curious about the consequences of taking them before you take them. Freedom in America means the freedom to see a therapist, complain about your life, and just like leaving a prostitute, wondering, am I the problem? But never taking any accountability or changing any of your behavior. Freedom to me is the ability to become a petty tyrant on social media. And boy, are there so many petty tyrants on Twitter. So again, freedom to me is the ability to become a petty tyrant on a social media platform like Twitter and hide behind your fancy degree to justify your shitty behavior. Because I'm a doctor, I'm a therapist, I'm a trauma therapist, I'm a this, I'm a that. And because of your degree and your training, you are somehow immune to the criticisms of other people and your shitty behavior. Freedom to me means the ability to say outlandish things and people not understand a word that you're saying and be upset by it. Freedom to me is the ability to offend people without having to give a shit about the fact that you have offended them. Freedom to me is the ability to not offend people and walk on eggshells and make yourself miserable as hell for the sake of other people liking you. Freedom is the ability to hate people just because of what they look like, sound like, or who they vote for. Being an American means being miserable to people and pretending you like them. Being an American right now means judging people without knowing almost anything about them. Being an American right now means blindly supporting people who say things that make you feel good. Being an American means taking yourself way too seriously when in reality the rest of the world thinks we're a joke in many ways. Being an American to me means having the freedom to pretend that you have money and you're going somewhere in life, but not actually saving up money and working extra hard to have freedom in your life. Being an American means buying an overpriced truck or car and not being worried about the consequences to your family and your future. Being an American means supporting people, voting for people, caring about people who have no concern for your well-being because your friends, your family tell you that the other side is evil and going to kill you. Being an American means believing we are excellent when in reality, we got a lot of good stuff. We also do a lot of bad stuff. Being in America means $9 matcha with $2 service. Being an American means spending your time and money on things that aren't going to make your life better, but they make you feel better. Like drugs. Like fancy watches and bags and purses and all these things. Being an American means the freedom to come make a podcast that maybe 5 or 6 people will watch and scream into the void and feel like you're doing something useful. When in reality, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Being an American means canceling your friends over their allegiance to ideas that you don't understand, like communism or capitalism. Being an American means overreacting about things that have no actual significance for your life and underreacting to the real people that are right here in front of you because you're too busy looking at your fucking phone. Being an American means focusing on making money but not caring about your health. Being an American means solving obesity with Ozempic and not being the least bit curious about how we got here and what we need to change whatsoever in our culture and in our society. Being an American means believing that you are special when in reality, you're just a regular person. Being an American means caring all about your pets and not your children. Being an American means consuming lots of caffeine and using that extra energy to be super productive, but not actually have a more meaningful life. Because having a meaningful life would be a little more complicated than just over-caffeinating and making yourself more money. Being an American to me means the freedom to have absurd opinions on social media platforms and not care about the consequences. The consequences to your career, your family, your friends. Being an American to me means the freedom to eat whatever you want for any particular reason and not care about the consequences, which is so awesome, which I intend to do later today. Being an American to me means pretending that our use of the military is a really, really good idea, when in reality, consequences 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later, we couldn't have known that. Being an American means believing that politics, money, and that's about it are the only things that matter, when in reality, it's not going to make your life better. Being an American means caring about what Donald Trump says when he doesn't even know what he's saying. Being an American means voting in Joe Biden while he's actively losing his mind and struggling with dementia and dying of prostate cancer, and pretending he's the better of two choices. Being an American means caring about people that don't care about you, especially online. Being an American means ignoring all the consequences of our freedoms and having no gratitude for all the things that we have that people in a bunch of other countries would kill for, literally. Being an American means thinking your opinion matters when nobody gives a shit. Being an American means the freedom to think and do pretty much whatever you want, and then justify it. Being an American to me means the freedom to spend your time as you please on the weekends, working, having fun, partying, whatever you want, and then going back to work on the following Monday and hating your life. Being an American to me means the freedom to show up and do whatever you want to do and be whoever you want to be and pretend that life matters when in reality your life is not meaningful. Being an American means the freedom to share your thoughts unfiltered and pretend that you're surprised when people are pissed off at you for sharing your unfiltered thoughts, especially on social media. Hey, Jonathan's here. Good to see you, sir. How was the car show? So, being an American means all these things and more. We have so much freedom to be whatever we want to be. There's so many possibilities of what we can be. And what's astounding to me is how limited people's lives are. Like, you could completely go in a different direction in your life here. You can take a different political party choice. You can live a different life. You can move to a completely different culture. You know, living here in LA is radically different than living in another part of the country. So being an American to me means the freedom to go and do whatever you want to do and then pretend that you didn't know that you are going to have a different life when you move to a different place. Being an American to me means the freedom to have a cat who for some reason wanted to show up to this podcast, who also didn't want to stay in this podcast. Being an American means the freedom to pretend that you are holier than the people who disagree with you, when in reality you're just as miserable as they are. Being an American means the freedom to ignore your values while also making values-based decisions all day. Being an American means being in one of the most mentally unhealthy societies and most medicated societies and claiming that we are the best nation on the planet. Being an American to me means the freedom to completely ignore whatever you want until you're older in life and be shocked that there are consequences for your behavior. There's so much freedom we have to do so many things. And my hope for all of you is that you enjoy your freedom, because there's just no way to completely avoid the consequences of your behavior. Just like I'm sure I will get some shit for the things that I've said on today's podcast, and that's A-okay. And for the people who don't understand sarcasm, that's also okay. Because here in America, I support your right to be stupid. And I support your right, the freedom you have, to care too much about what one person says on a podcast. Because if that's the most important thing to you, and you are that stupid, I support your right to be that stupid. Because here in America, freedom means you can be as stupid as you want to be. Some people call it retard maxing, and I support them 100%. You should go out there and be as stupid as you want to be. If you want to go out there and care about things that have no actual relevance for your life, fucking go hard. As Phil said in the chat, being an American means being able to burp whenever we want and whenever we want to. Amen, sir. I haven't had a big one yet, so. Being an American means the freedom to live in an overpriced home and neglect your health, your finances, and pretend that your life is going well. Being an American means having a divorce rate that is so high that I don't know why people get married anymore. Being an American means the freedom to really not even talk to your neighbor, because why would I need to talk to them? But then be concerned about what's going to happen if your house burns down, for instance. Being an American means living in a land full of conspiracies and the freedom to either explore them or not explore them. And maybe, just maybe, those conspiracies, if they're real, if they're true, has some meaning for your life. Being an American means suing someone about almost anything. Because here in America, suing people is a right. Being an American to me means the freedom to show up wearing whatever you want, whenever you want, and being morally outraged when people are pissed off at you. So you go out there and you wear that MAGA hat and be completely shocked and surprised when people hate you for it. And you go out there and you wear that thong in public and be completely shocked that people are, upset and confused. You go out there and you wear absurd looking things, and just you go out there and you live your freedom and see what happens, and feel free to be shocked and morally outraged when people hate you. Because that's also part of being an American, is hating people that make us feel uncomfortable. So we have all this freedom, and I sincerely hope we don't take it for granted, because there could come a time when we don't have it. Because the freedom to hate your neighbor for wearing a particular hat, or cross-dressing, or being gay, or being Christian, or whatever it is, that freedom can go away. We could lose it. Being an American means the freedom to own as many guns as you want and never pay your mortgage on time. Being American means the freedom to not brush your teeth and never go to the dentist and then be surprised that you need dentures at 50. Being an American means the freedom to make good choices and be surprised that people who cheat get ahead. Because being an American also means take advantage of the system when you can. We are the land of cheaters. From Tom Brady and Deflategate to every presidential election since JFK was assassinated, to most corporate types and billionaires and things like that, people who take advantage of loopholes, which we would call cheating. That's part of being an American. Being an American means the freedom to care about freedom. Because in many cultures, you cannot care about freedom. You will get beheaded and killed, hung. So being an American means freedom to care and freedom not to care. You have every right to care or not care. That is beautiful because there's almost no other country on the planet that's like that. We live in the most free society. You have the right to fuck off in school and never pay attention in class and then expect that your life is good, despite the fact that you haven't learned anything. That's how free this country is. So the problem is freedom plus entitlement results in all sorts of problems for most people. Freedom plus responsibility might result in a better life. But here in America, you have the choice to mix your freedom with a side of entitlement or mix your freedom with a side of responsibility. In whatever way you choose, that's your choice. Because here in America, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. And goddamn, that's amazing. Here we are on the 4th of July, on the 250th anniversary of this country's existence. And I could not be, all sarcasm and kidding around aside, I could not be more grateful to be here. My life is immensely better than it could have been in any other country for so many reasons. And so my kind of parting thought for this conversation today, with all the sarcasm aside, all the kidding around aside, I cannot imagine living anywhere else and being as free as I am to be as nasty and open and curious and critical and successful and productive as I am right now. And there's no better place to live than the United States of America to build a life, in my opinion. With all the problems that we have, I couldn't be more grateful. And I believe that anyone who is struggling to find their way in the world, there's someone else out there who can help you. The most beautiful thing about the United States of America, in my opinion, is that you are never alone. And you never have to be alone. Even though we often feel very alone, we're actually not. Like, my life is absurdly good, and I haven't really earned it in many ways. It's just luck because I was born here. I was born with certain traits and gifts. I was born in a certain kind of family with a certain kind of work ethic. So there's so much cool shit that is available to us. And if we are struggling, the biggest challenge is finding the people that can support us. Because as I said earlier, there are two core spirits that animate this country. One of them is, I'll show you. And the other is, we can do it. Because we can. We can figure it out. And so if you're out there and you're struggling at all, make sure you understand that you can figure it out. Or if you can't figure it out by yourself, we can figure it out. And so for all the shit talking that I do about therapy and bad therapists and scammy rehabs and things like that, Let me be 100% crystal clear with all the sarcasm aside that you never have to face anything alone. There are so many decent people who will talk to you. One of the most amazing things about the United States of America is, regardless of what you look like, what you sound like, who you love, where you live here in this country, there will be people who will talk to you for no other reason than you happen to be in their presence. If you have the privilege to go out today and get a cup of coffee or eat some food or shop at the store, and someone is friendly to you, even if they're paid to be friendly because they're a front desk person or whatever, that is amazing. That is proof that we are not alone. And we never have to be alone, which means that we can figure it out together. And so being an American to me means, with 100% seriousness, not trying to joke around or be sarcastic, being an American to me means having the courage to say, I'll show you and we'll figure it out. And I believe that the more all of us, of whatever background, whatever politics, whatever belief system, religion, whatever, the more that we all try to have the courage to say, I'll show you and we'll figure it out, our lives will get better. Our communities will get better. A healthy community beats a sick government every time. Because a healthy community doesn't put up with the sick government. So it is my belief that if you're listening to this and you hate me, or you don't agree with me, or you wish I was fired, or whatever it is, I still want you to have the courage to say, I'll show you and we'll figure it out. Because genuinely speaking, I'll show you and we'll figure it out makes everybody's life better. Because then you'll go build a business. You'll go get a degree. You'll build relationships. You'll build an organization, a nonprofit, whatever it is. You'll do something productive. Because the worst thing in the world for all of us is not being productive and not chasing our dreams and our goals. And the most beautiful thing about the United States of America is that it's a land full of people who chase their dreams and their goals. And there's dozens and dozens of people that support you. Like everyone who's here in the chat talking to me is supporting me in my dreams and my goals. And I didn't earn it. It's not like I have some magical special privilege. It's just luck of being in this country and being able to interact with these people on Twitter and stuff. And so what I will tell everyone is that if you are despairing, as George Washington said, never despair. Always remember that if you just have enough courage to say, I'll show you and we'll figure it out, your despair will go away. There's a way to figure it out, and we never have to be alone. And as screwed up as this country is, for all the reasons I've said and many more, it's still one of the best countries on the planet with some of the best people in the world from all sorts of backgrounds. And I couldn't be more grateful that I get to interact with so many different types of people. Because the more different kinds of people I get to interact with, I get to get better. My life gets better. I understand things better. Which means we can figure it out better. We can figure it out. And if you're despairing, just remember, we can figure it out. You never have to do anything alone. If you have access to some kind of technology such that you can actually hear what I'm saying right now, that means that you don't have to figure out anything alone. And so to me, again, the spirit of America is, I'll show you and we'll figure it out. And that's what makes us unique. To me, that's what makes us amazing. It's a country built of rebels and entrepreneurs. And for whatever their flaws were and are, thank God they're here. And thank God they're doing what they're doing. Because no matter what your background, if you're a good rebel and you know what the fuck you're doing and you're going to figure it out, then that's what this country is about. This country is about figuring it out, and I'll show you. And because of that, we have some of the most amazing entertainers, writers, podcasters, politicians. I mean, they're disgusting and stupid, but we have some of the best businesses in the world, some of the coolest immigrants in the world. We have some of the, it's such an amazing country for all these reasons and more. And it's because it was built on this ethos of, I'll show you, and we'll figure it out. And so if you're struggling at any point, I hope you can find some courage to step into the I'll show you, or the I'll figure it out, or we'll figure it out, because it can help. And as always, gratitude. Because life is pretty good if you're here. And even if you're in a bad way here, it's still pretty good compared to a lot of places on the planet. And so that's not to dismiss how bad it is for you, but it's still pretty good. And so with all that being said, I'm going to go enjoy some freedom maxing for the rest of today. I really appreciate everyone who showed up, who watched, who commented, who didn't comment, etc. That's totally fine. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me on this July 4th. I hope you have a great day. And if you're in America, God bless America, because I think this place fucking rocks. So have a great day. I'll see you next week for a more traditional version of UnShrink Me. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you soon.